months or longer. Those of you who've worked in the workforce development or employment security world, the sort of rule of thumb is if somebody hasn't worked in more than a year, it's going to be really hard for them to find them a job. Don't even send them to the employment service or the career center or whatever. So, so if we have half of the unemployed have been out for 6 months or longer, and many have been out for a year or 2 years, that it is much more difficult each month that someone is out of the labor market to return into the labor market. Even those who return in are losing wages, so that the wage rates, the opportunity costs of coming in are at a lower wage level for those who are coming back in. And especially true for older dislocated workers. So the dislocation rate is high for all age groups. It is particularly severe in terms of reemployment for those who are 50 and older. And as Heidi said, we have a higher labor force participation rate for the older workers, usually for economic reasons, although many older people prefer to work, or mix work and retirement in some other ways. But it is much, the longer someone's out of work, the harder it is to get them back in. And when they go back in, it's at a lower wage. The serious hardship for low-income families and childhood poverty rising, Heidi's already covered that. New entrants to the labor market. It's not only poor people, poor kids, poor young workers that are having a hard time. It is the middle class as well. And that the increasing number of young adults, even with college degrees, who are having difficulty finding regular standard employment. So what you're seeing, and we don't have a lot of hard data on this yet, but we're beginning to get some research on the increasing proportion of new college graduates who are in sort of this non-standard arrangement, which doesn't mean informal off the books, but it means that technically they're contractors, they're in temporary positions, they're in jobs that don't have benefits or security, or even things like sick leave and annual leave, so that you have a rising proportion of even college-educated young people who are entering the labor market into that environment, some of whom like it in a way. They don't know that there's anything wrong with that. People from my generation are saying, oh my God, that's awful. Not only are they not unionized, which I would like to see, they don't even have benefits. They don't even get 4th of July off with pay. And they don't have access to health insurance the way that we normally would think of in terms of employment security. So there is a generation of young people that are coming up, that are entering into the labor market, into a different labor market than what we did when we baby boomers were starting off. And those who are economically disadvantaged at the low end, at the low skilled level, as they're entering, it's much harder to overcome. So that if you enter in at a low wage, the upward mobility is clear in the first decade of employment, but then you plateau pretty quickly. And so individuals with low skills, low education, and low job entry, when they're in their beginning of their labor market, don't really rise up too high. They plateau quickly, especially women and African American males. Okay. So I'm always the optimist, believe it or not. Okay. So the challenge, I think, is how do we do more with less? More bang for the buck, and that's a smaller buck. I would like to just mention a few promising options in the next few slides. One is upgrade the skills of workers so we can get at the kind of a nation that I would like, and I think Heidi would like. Improve the safety net, or access to the safety net. Encourage program innovation, and evaluate and build the evidence base. Especially the last two, I think members of this organization can be leaders in this regard. Okay. So, upgrading worker skills. Most importantly, recessions are a good time to invest in human capital. We've heard that. I've been doing research for 38 years. All these 38 years, that's true. It's true for a few reasons. One is sort of the safe haven of being in college. The other is that there is political support to invest public dollars in training, and you're seeing that now. So even with the the budget compromise last week. There was a lot of smoke and yelling about cutting Pell Grants, but they didn't cut the higher education money as much as originally people thought it might. So the recession is a good time to use that downtime, if it is downtime, so that your resume, when you're coming back, shows that, yes, you were unemployed, but you weren't unproductive. And so being in school is also a good way to protect against sort of that period of long unemployment. Also, the demand for workers continues. Even during the peak of the recession, employers were still saying they couldn't find the kind of workers that they wanted. And what does that mean? It means usually higher skill. And at every level, one of our colleagues, another labor economist, Gary Burtless at the Brookings Institution, had a great book with a wonderful title called The Future of Lousy Jobs, meaning the U.S. as the future of lousy jobs. And that what he looked at was sort of the skills gap. And at every education level, whether it's high school only, college, some college, master's degrees, even PhDs, that the premium is for those who have the technological skills. So that even at the PhD level, at the master's level, not all masters are created equal, not all college degrees are created equal, not all certificates, as we're seeing from a lot of accumulating research now, is identifying. And so the wage premium goes to those who have the technological skills. So whether it's computer or computer savvy or math or science, those are the kinds of premiums. And more education is not necessarily the answer, as Heidi said. We're focused then on the jobs with technological skills. Focus also on the growing sectors and occupations. And those of you in this room are very sophisticated statistically, I know. When you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics projections, they do projections for 10 years at a time, which many of you may be aware of. It's clear that the growth is at the top end and at the bottom end. The growth projections are presented in two ways. One is the fastest growing jobs in terms of percent growth. The other is the fastest growing jobs in terms of numbers. And if you look at the percent, it makes it look like, oh my gosh, we need all these high-tech workers. But those are not jobs, those are proportions. And if you look at the projections for the number of jobs that are growing, it's primarily in the healthcare sector, which has a few high-wage jobs, but most of them are low-wage jobs. So we have a huge demand in the healthcare sector, and much of that demand is at the low end. Although the number one growing occupation is still nursing. But even there, we're shifting. In the past, you used to have a BA for nursing, right? So you had a bachelor's for nursing, and now the majority of new nurses have associate's degrees. So it's no longer lucrative for someone to get a BA in nursing, and in fact, increasingly, the hospitals are hiring people with AAs, not BNs, BSNs, or whatever it is. So you have to sort of look in each of your labor markets what the growth sectors are and develop the training for that. Also, the other thing we talked about a little at lunchtime was the life cycle issue. It's no longer enough to just come out of school and go to work and spend the rest of your life happily after. We have to have a life cycle of workforce development that includes school to work to career to lifelong learning to retraining, and to have that be part of the paradigm as children are growing into the workforce. Innovations to consider, again, community colleges. The White House is emphasizing community colleges, but the community colleges are jam-packed, bursting at the seams. They can't handle what they're doing. We're not seeing an increase at the four-year level. We are seeing an increase in the community college level. We have waiting lists in the community colleges. We don't have enough clinical places for people who are going into the healthcare sector. So there are long two-year waiting lists to get into some of the lowest healthcare occupations. We need to think of a better way to deal with the need for training. Some of the ones that I think are important are cooperative education, internships, registered apprenticeship, school to work, school to career, where you begin in high school and articulate into the college level. Some of the instructional advances, sort of compressing the length of time someone has to be in a degree program. Upgrading, this is where I think you come in, upgrading the technology and labor market information and job matching. One of the big things we found with the Recovery Act was a huge investment in labor market information, in upgrading the computers that allow both looking at projections of occupations at the state and at the community level, looking at the indicators of labor market change over time, and also doing real-time job matching within that analysis of the projected occupational growth. So it's something that both workers and businesses can use, and communities as well. Businesses are the top trainer in the U.S., so the more we can leverage and partner with communities, the better. One more, the safety net. Here again, I think the good news, I have one piece of good news. The good news is that the food stamp program is increasingly important, and oh my gosh, the food stamp program is just growing. And this is the only social safety net for the poor that is federally directed, federally controlled, and federally funded. So the food stamp program really is the safety net in the U.S., and during the recession it is just booming. We need to recognize the inadequacies in the safety net. I have a whole book on that, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But again, technology is becoming very important. There are a number of benefit screening tools which you probably have in your communities: Earned Benefits, Single Stop Benefit Bank, Michigan Benefits Access System. So there is a huge investment in the technological development on screening online to see if people are eligible for different benefits, and then providing the case tools to link them to those benefits. And I think that the organizations that you represent can play an important role on that, and on blending programming and cross-funding streams. And I would just say, look for grants to fill in formulas. I'm struck with the number of the shift over the past decade as the federal government has shifted away from increased funding for formula-funded programs and increasing the money that's going out through grants programs. And so right now, the big one that everybody around the country is working on, if in your communities too, I'm sure, is the Trade Adjustment Act grants. Of the, I think it's $200 million that the Labor Department is awarding. The applications are due April 29th. They have to be led by community college networks, and all around the country, community colleges, 8, 10, 20 community colleges collaborating together are submitting grant applications for this money. So that the grant funding, and not just formula funding, is a source of information, source of funding that could be leveraged to do some of the technological